Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream and welcome in general. Let me just check one few last things. Okay. Seems we're good to go. I think. I hope. I know. I should have put the notification to first announce the stream. Because, yes, I forgot to do that. This is on me. This is on me. My hands on my heart. Like, I'm sorry. I did that. It happened. But also, it's because I kinda had to do a few other things that I haven't managed to do it before. You know, work is kind of a bitch in this case because you can't really drop it. But anyway. We're here. It's gonna be a quote unquote shorter stream because it's gonna be plus minus around ish 1 hour. Mostly because there's gonna be a match. The World Cup has entered and almost finished with 1/16th, and that's why I am just. Oops, this is the feedback. We don't want feedback. And we kind of want to. I kind of want feedback because this is, for me, this is good because I know how do I sound. Okay, just one last thing to check. Is the audio good? The audio isn't. Okay, let's switch to. Okay. I know why my audio isn't working as well. Okay, should be better. Maybe because I had my audio output, not the input, not the mic, the output, the headphones. I kinda had them all the way down on the OBS. Anyway, without further ado, brainrot gameplay, braindead gameplay, because Sovetsky Soyuz is just point and click, and mostly, unless you fight another Soyuz, or a good Iowa player, or a good Yamato player, you are untouchable. How do I know? I play all of them. And since I played all of them, and I am like quote unquote so below average when it comes to the skill, I know just a little bit on how to deal with Soyuz, why I shouldn't bother with playing against Soyuz, and why I should bother playing Soyuz. Like I said, braindead gameplay, because this is gonna be just fine. And also I want to spade Sovius and get Stalingrad. Stalingrad. The cruiser hunter that never hunts cruisers, unless you are in a naval EC. And this is kind of a nice idea to check it out when I grab her finally. Because that would mean I can get to fight cruisers and destroyers. Still don't get why Kronstadt is at 7.3, but Stalingrad is at 7.7. Like, don't get me wrong. I know those guns are better, but the armor is basically not even the same. I think Stalingrad has weaker armor, if I remember correctly. And I do remember it correctly, because I know nobody plays Stalingrad, but everyone plays Kronstadt. So, there must be something in it. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have finally AP, because I think I only have AP. Yeah, I only have AP unlocked. I have nothing else unlocked on Soyuz. Okay, maybe just a little bit quieter on this side and on my side. That's not what we want to attack. This is what we want to attack. What do we have? Tosa, Tosa, and me. Now, I have to be honest. I hate the new aiming system. It shows that my guns are aligned, but because those guns aren't all aligned, as in the Z turret or X turret is still traversing, I can't really aim because I can't see where my guns are pointing at. Okay, this is interesting. So yeah, previous system wasn't ideal. Don't get me wrong. I know the pointing wasn't ideal, but at least it was showing you frontal guns and the guns that were pointing on target, and not if I press here, then I should be aiming here. If I stay here, then the closest should snap. And currently, it's not snapping, it's just there. Always going for the rear turrets, which is weird, if you ask me. And if you ask a lot of other players that still play Naval, yes, we exist. I would say that they would agree with me. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just saying. Okay, can you like... Are you sure? Mediot, are you sure you want to do that? I think you are. I think you are sure. Then, who am I not to oblige? In 6 seconds, of course. Who am I not to oblige in 6 seconds? 760, so that would be here-ish. Yeah. That's Issa. And Issa can be tricky, as in she shouldn't be as weak as she might be, but at the same time she is a little bit of hard to kill, even though the ammo is way more exposed than, for example, on Congo or Nagato. I'm not talking about Mutsu, because Mutsu's ammo is like the next level of explosion. Explosion? Exposure. Oh my god. I forgot how to speak English. Inglese, hardy Sprache. Please let me give me one kill. Which one? Ah, here. Damn, this I can manage. Or maybe... Okay, maybe just to be sure. Still have like one turret. One turret is enough. Or apparently all of them got repaired. I don't get how the repair system works sometimes. Definitely it shouldn't work like that. This is the problem we had in what? 2 updates? Since... Yeah, since the last update, I think so. That we're just constantly stuck with the fact that the breach repair is always gonna start by itself, even though it shouldn't, especially if you are on... Yeah, again, see? Especially if you are on the manual repair. Like, if you aren't on manual repair, then yes, of course, automatically everything's... But here, I didn't press the button. It just started on its own. It's... Oh, again. You have no idea how many times this can get you killed. And by how many times, I mean how... Like, it's often. It's very, very often. Again. It was almost done. It was almost good before the... If I remember correctly, before the last update. It was still bad, but at least it was manageable, and currently you can't really do anything. When you have breach repair, when you have breach in your ship, in your hull, like, you can be like... you can be all red. Like, all of this would be disabled, destroyed. No. And you have like minuscule, like, needle size of a hull, and the game would be like, nope, we're repairing the hull. Doesn't matter that you are currently not able to defend yourself, less even thinking about attacking. No. Oh. Hi, Mike. Welcome to the stream. I'm currently rambling and trying not to lose my mind. Because, yes, you can lose your mind with that. I am... Okay, now I press the button. Now, I am actively repairing. Also... the bots. Like, the only one targeted? Almost. I'm almost the only one. Here, no one. That was a player. There's 1, 2. Meanwhile, fellow naval engineer since the beginning. Hey, nice. That makes 2 of us. I've been playing naval since the beginning too, since the cursed tech trees. Dusk matches, yeah, dusk matches are... They are bringing some ambience that normal matches don't have. Even if the normal matches can be quite good looking, I still think that dusk matches have this... whatchamacallit, the je ne sais quoi, if I want to say fancy stuff. Also, I'm still mad that we don't have night matches. Like, add star shells, add... even if it's gonna be for the naval EC, add star shells for the battleships. There's gonna be destroyers sneaking around in the darkness. There's gonna be cruisers playing. Wow, unsync. Wow, unsync ability lost. Okay, this is new. And yeah, night matches. Something beautiful that we don't have in this game unless you are playing on custom. And custom is nice, but custom doesn't have this implementation that could have been implemented in exactly spotlights. And you would have the choice if you want to sneak around and potentially risk meeting someone in the darkness, like basically colliding against someone, mostly enemy, I suppose, because I wouldn't get rid of the markings. Or you could expose yourself, be in the rear. But no, I don't think Gaijin would implement that. Not after the failure that are ground night matches. The old ground matches, the night matches, if you remember them, or the night air matches. If someone was playing like, what, 10 years ago, then they do remember the night matches in the air that you wouldn't see almost anything but what was lightened up by a moonlight. Good times that would never come back, sadly. Don't get me wrong, those matches still are good, but I do miss Old War Thunder sometimes. Not the gameplay per se, but the modes, the fact that we still had care about historical matchmaking, for example, which is something that currently doesn't exist almost. Sometimes I heard from my friends that sometimes you can get historical matchmaking, like maybe one or two match where there's only Japan against USA or Britain or Germany against Soviets. But other than that, I think it was since the addition of Sweden, because Sweden didn't really match anywhere, so they had to put them where. Turns out they just... Oh my holy frames. But yes. To se ne vrati. As Czechs say, this will never return. Unless you are, of course, playing custom battles. But try and get... Gajin said they want to implement naval to nuclear thunder down the line far in the future. Could possibly... we'll already have the missile ships, so it's basically... I think it's gonna be basically what they tried with the Silent Thunder and the asymmetrical game mode, but this time you could potentially grab a ship for a proper amount of SP. So it's gonna be mostly, I think it's mostly gonna be about testing whether or not missile ships, well, proper missile ships, not what we have in the game currently, so Bravi or Charles Adams. This would be mostly about how the population would perceive those ships, whether they're gonna think this is a nice addition, whether it's gonna be addition that, wow, new gimmick, we're gonna play it once and then we're completely gonna skip it because they are air players, ground players that don't really play naval. Or is it gonna be, like I said, what was I thinking about? I think I have to be checked for ADHD because I forgot the train of my thought. But yeah, to finish that up, it's gonna be either those. By the way, this might mean that they could implement those ships in the normal game mode for naval. Hopefully, they wouldn't be mingled with the normal tech trees. They would be secondary tech tree, maybe something really, really far disconnected, so we wouldn't be able to see them. For example, if we have 8.7, let's say with the potentiality of things like Montana or Project A150, so the Super Yamato, going up to 9.3, 9.7, maybe-ish. I would say 11.0, 12.0 and above for the missile ships. Yeah, I would say 11.3, 11.0, because that would mean we could get them from the very basics. So from the very first stuff like the DDG or C... I forgot the NATO designation. The, for example, converted Baltimore class to the missile cruiser. We could potentially get those as the first iteration, and we could get up to, I don't know, Oliver Hazard Perry, maybe Kirov class. Oh yeah, Kirov would be interesting because that would be Kirov versus Iowa added as another version of Iowa. Maybe okay, now I think about New Jersey being the outfitted one, and I want to see New Jersey as a normal ship in the game. But yeah, to finish that. First missile battleships. First missile battleships. The only nation that had battleships with missiles was US, and yeah, US should just get them, and everyone else is like, nope. And anyway, missile ships for every nation, starting from the very first destroyers, cruisers, frigates even, up to the most modern ones. We know Gaijin doesn't really care about what's modern or what's not modern because they now have the formula for everything instead of looking for proper sources. Besides general things about vehicles. So why not add even things like Zumwalt or even things that are still in service that are just commissioned, laid down? They could do that with ease even. I wouldn't say that's a good thing to do, but they could do that, and they might do that. That's the biggest problem, I think. Look, how did you get here? Okay, I look here and then here for like few minutes, and bang, I have Hyuga 2 kilometers away from me. How did he do that? Okay, bye bye. Sorry. He attacked me first, so it counts. In the previous ship. I feel like missile ships are gonna be like when ATGMs were first introduced to the game. Please not. Like, please don't jinx it. I actually shuddered when I thought about that. When I said, read what you said. There, please don't joke like that. We don't. I don't want them to come at what 5.3 or something, 6.3. Because they would be broken. Like, first of all, if they are low enough, they would be broken because they would be overpowered. They would have the range advantage, they would have the mobility advantage, besides few of those. They would have the armament advantage. But if they would be high, like, let's say Gaijin doesn't want to introduce them at a separate tier, and they just want them to be mingled and let's say 6.0. At 6.0, they are facing cruisers, and they're facing the top tier cruisers, and they are facing early battleships. So they are facing things with armor that no actual anti-ship missile can penetrate, because anti-ship missiles aren't meant to penetrate things. Yes, sure, they have some amount of penetration. They are possible. They are able to penetrate the armor, but they are mostly focused about that HE attack. It's basically shooting the HE shell against another ship from a very large distance. Which makes sense when you think about that, because nowadays ships don't really have armor. Before, sure, it was kinda justified that ships had also a proper gun, like the proper frontal gun. See, for example, with the Kotlin class, or even here on the Charles F. Adams class, you still have that 5-inch something as a main armament, because those were the guns that, well, those were the times when you kind of had to have the guns that were, maybe not guns, but you would have to have something that has anti-armor or armor penetrating capabilities above what the missile could penetrate. Because if you see here, that's 71 millimeters of penetration. You wouldn't really get more from a modern missile. I would even say you would get less from a modern missile than from the earliest. Actually, I could check. We could check what is the penetration, or okay, that's funny looking thing. I haven't seen it before. It goes to show how much I'm actually exploring those trees. But yeah, we have the Marinefliga, and they have the anti-ship missile. And see, those are cormorants. Those are anti-ship missiles that are kinda used. I do need to check. Give me a second. AS-34 Cormoran. Okay, it is anti-ship missile, yes. It's air launch, so air to surface. But I wanna see where are things like. No, that's Exocet. Exocet is another one. Okay, maybe not the hypersonics like H-15. Okay, why is it so hard to check things on Wikipedia? Okay, Termit, yeah. Anti-ship cruise missile from the 1960s. Let's see, this is hollow charge high explosive, so heat. So it's a heat missile. Yeah, you would get like what? Okay. Larger than the semi armor. Okay. Termit was a bit bigger and with a hollow charge. Still, you wouldn't really get the similar anti-armor capabilities of a proper shell. This, I'd say up to 110, 120-ish on a normal anti-ship missile would be more than you could achieve normally. And 120 would scratch at cruiser in terms of game, of course, experience, because let's see, Żelezniaków, so the Chapayev and Svierdulov class, they had like what? They have 100 millimeters, so yeah, they could potentially penetrate unless we count ships with citadels. Then yeah, good luck. Those things aren't meant to penetrate. Those things are meant to just detonate, create big breach in your hull, destroy crucial components. Anti-ship missiles, that is. So no, they wouldn't work. In my opinion, of course. What would work? What would work? They wouldn't work. They would have to have their own mode, like we have in the Nuclear Thunder. By the way, you can already check those ships out. They are semi-working. I know there's a custom mission for that, which we might check at the end of the stream, which is going to be like in a half an hour. Other than that, oh shit, I hit my knee. Other than that, nah. I would like just normal naval. I like my battleships. I know I'm like, not a lot of people like playing top tier. I get it, but I like playing top tier. I like playing my battleships. I don't really like. Okay, I like playing World War One battleships, but the rare occasions that they are facing each other are so rare that I just skip the World War Ones. For example, I still have yet to play Hye, even though I have grinded her, just because I like to be a completionist, and now I have full Japanese Tech Tree researched. And now the beautiful 18. Let's start from 18 kilometers and sail against each other because there's nothing else to do. Yay, open space. Very riveting gameplay. This is what I don't like about what changed when we have the when we got the proper the last the battleships, the creme de la creme. Especially since Gaijin just extended this map for every tier. So you can, and I experienced that a few times myself. I was playing 5.0. 5.0 is basically a destroyer tier. You have your 5-inch gun, maybe if you're playing Akizuki, you have 100mm gun. And you get Franz Josef Land or Mediterranean port, and you start from here to here, 20 kilometers between each other, when the optimal range and basically the maximum range of typical destroyer engagement was and is in the game of 8 kilometers, maybe 8 to 7. I didn't want to say the other thing, even though I know not everyone here is not brain rotted, but just to be sure. So imagine like sailing for. I basically went and grabbed myself something to drink, and I still was sailing, and I was far enough when I returned after a few minutes. I was far enough to just still sit down properly, slowly, without any rush, and then I could finally play. If there was a reasoning why they did that for the low tiers, low BRs, I would like to hear it because I haven't heard it yet. And I don't think I'll hear it because there's no reasoning, they are just lazy. As long as and Wacky Naval has become serves me as a form of big ass learning win loss, the reward is huge. Much like Heli PV, I really like Naval because of that. Yeah, that's also a big incentive to why you could play Naval, even though if you aren't like a Naval enjoyer that much, it's way easier to grind RP. Well, not RP, RP too, but it's way easier to grind SL in those matches. Like, even here, I just did not a lot. Sure, I had the 75% boost, but 73,000 for basically a few dozen minutes of me just doing not a lot. Well, sign me up. Play what? 3 battles of naval, and you are, if you are, for example, playing premium. Let's take Mikuma for example, because I like Mikuma. So you play Mikuma, you play 3 matches of her. That will be what? Hour and a half, 2 hours at best. And after 2 hours, you are basically 500,000 richer. And if you are playing like crap, then you are few 100,000 richer. It's really a no-brainer moment why you should play naval. Besides the fact that ships are cool, and big ships are even cooler. Yes, that's the biggest argument about why you should play naval. Not the gameplay, not okay, frames. Hello, where did you disappear? Not like I said, not the gameplay, not the SL incentive, not the fact that it's something different. No, big ships are cool, and that's why you should play it, because there's nowhere else where you can shoot big guns. And shooting big guns at big targets and doing big damage is just scratching your brain in a way that nothing else can scratch. Okay, and why are my frames dropping? Now it's good, now it's bad, now it's good, now it's bad, now it's good, now it's bad. It's like epileptic attack. Okay, see, this is why you play. Also, if you can get that ammo detonation, for example, to continue the topic, of course, ammo detonation in tanks is just easy to achieve. And if you are arguing it's not, then yeah, sure, grab whatever nation, whatever BR, and it's just there. APHE, go, one shot, one hit, one kill. It's easy. It's not giving you the same amount of dopamine, for example. And yes, I am backing psychologically why Naval has more of a dopamine rush, even though it's a slower gameplay than, for example, the faster paced ground battles. In naval, you have to work for the detonation. Ships are armored. You have to aim more precisely. Sure, you can have a little bit of a leeway because of the, of course, shell dispersion, the randomness, but at the same time, the rarity of such thing as ammo explosion as one hit kill is way better because you are earning that than if you would have to just, you know, detonate everything one shot each time. Like here, I'm fighting wrong. I'm fighting against a bot. Sure, it's basically just a moving target for me. If you play naval, you either like ships and naval history or you are a whip. I am both. I am too. But when it comes to navy, it's funny because, well, you could also be someone, some retired or active member of military, and more often than not, they are all of the above. Like, besides one guy, like my previous roommate when I was still renting a room, he was a military. He works in the recruitment center. Other than that, pretty much every military guy I met, be it online or offline, has at least watched one of those two things, well, three things. I'm not counting Pokemon because Pokemon is basically transcended over the dimension of anime. They either watched Dragon Ball, they watched Naruto, or they watch Girls and Panzer. They always watch one of those, even though they are not quote unquote into anime or stuff. They always watch that. They really are into that. And this is probably the same with Navy. Like, the amount of people who played Kankole or watched Kankole or Azur Lane and then are, ships are cool. And then you go into the more advanced stuff, the more real stuff, and you are both is good, exactly. And you are even what? And you are even more invested in everything. Blowing up a floating city is more satisfying than trying to kill a little rat on wheels that's gonna eat your rounds. Exactly. Like I said, the dopamine rush after earning something is more quote unquote addicting in some way than just getting that rush of a dopamine every time you do something. Okay, How? No, like, how did I kill Congo? Okay, anyway. Italian ships. You can't kill Italian. Italians are just sponges. Or just shell sponges. Also, the talk about weeps, etc., and not weeps even, reminds me of that anecdote I read about. There was a guy that was a volunteer, was volunteering in the uh, old Navy, like I forgot the place. Not let's just say there was retired Navy man, like serviceman who served on, for example, Iowa during Gulf War, etc. He, uh, the guy, just for fun, he showed them three pictures: the Kankola, Iowa, the Azure Lane, New Jersey, and the Battleship Girls Z, if I remember correctly, Iowa. Apparently, all of them agreed that if such thing as Kankole would exist, they all choose Kankole as the superior version, but they all agreed they were like older guys, 40 years old, something like that. They all agreed that if such thing as this depiction of Iowa existed back in their days, she would be plastered all over the real ship. And this comes from boomers that, well, maybe not boomers, but this comes from guys who think Chinese cartoons is just like what? Childish thing. So yeah, there you go. Being in Navy, well, there the depiction and the fact that the earlier ships were always almost named after something feminine doesn't come from nowhere. The sailors really like their girls, and what's the biggest thing to love than your ship? Also, ships are way easier to attach you to them than, for example, tank, especially when it comes to history. Like there's thousands of, for example, Abrams's T-34s or whatever else, but there's only one Iowa. There's only one Yamato. It's way easier to track their history. That's why, for example, you don't track history of a tank. You track the history of a crew member. Take uh, take that guy. I forgot his name. The German tanker. Well, not Rommel, but the German tanker who's the German commander whose gunner shot down a plane in a Tiger. You don't say and you don't hear. Yeah, sure, it's a Tiger, but you are more focused on the crew member than on the vehicle itself. When it comes to ships, you are more invested in the ship history. But don't say, oh yeah, the captain and the sailors of Congo bombed Henderson Field, or I don't know, the Hood's crew members sailed against Bismarck. No, that would be more Hood fought Bismarck. Sure, the distinction also comes from the fact that there's thousands of people on one ship, and it's harder to just track one unless he was heroic enough. But that also means that a ship is also a proper character of this story. Like tank was just, for example, a meaning. Tank was just a way to achieve the thing. Ship is a character in this story, as alongside the crew members, alongside the other ships. It's like more prominent in this story. If that makes sense, I'm glad. If that doesn't make sense, then you can blame on the fact that my English is bad. Yes, I'm gonna claim the ESL card always. If you also are ESLs, you should claim that card as much as you can, even though you can speak proper English, no accent, no whatever, C2 level. You can basically outspeak native speakers. Claim that card anytime if you want. Can I pop that Bismarck? I can't because I aimed that. The ship is the body and the crew is the soul, I think. Yeah, I'd say so. Like the body, it's the body moves, but the body moves because the soul moves it. So the ship is moving because the crew is serving on them, but the ship is also a very prominent body. Like without the ship, the crew would be basically meaningless. Even if the crew would be the most heroic part. Okay, I don't want to deal with that Bismarck. Bye bye. Or maybe I do. Okay, never mind. We're just gonna ignore that part. Well, how much time do I have? 5 minutes of the match. Am I just gonna be fast enough to do at least one thing? Maybe. I'm just gonna relegate to AI. That is still ignoring. Okay, since when AI gunners ignore the targets? Okay, now that I think about it, I haven't really talked that passionately in English for a long while. Oh, I do miss streaming. Well, I do miss streaming. I'm not streaming like okay since last week, so it's not like I'm streaming constantly. But I'm streaming recently, and I already miss doing that. Maybe not daily, but because daily I would I would get tired really fast of streaming. I'd get exhausted. You could go back from work, stream, then do even more stuff around the house, etc. It would be exhausting, but weekends like now, perfect. Hey, Kronstadt, just can you just die? Mission rearrangement started. Oh, that's the new mechanic that I haven't even seen yet. Just like I haven't seen the boiler explosion. I fear might be the first one to experience that before I can see that on enemy ship. Now a very slow decrossing. Okay, I think that should be enough to get it down. Yeah. Is that Bisco still here? Yep. Am I gonna be fast enough to get? forgot the sing the Bismarck, the sing the Mighty Hood. I forgot the lyrics. Something like that. We just gotta sing the Bismarck. 1 minute 30 seconds. Enough? Enough. Yay. Clap, clap, clap. Poor Bisco. Okay, not poor Bisco. That guy shot me first. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do anything more that much. Sadly. Hey, take that back. I did something. I forgot to press the single salvo. Okay, best squad. Okay. 5 targets. Nice. Nice. That was a good match. I'm proud of myself. And what, 123,000? I'll take that. What to get? What to get? Rather replacement. Definitely. Okay, not starting another match. I am slowly gonna finish the stream. The Mundial is not waiting for me, and I do want to watch and see who's gonna win, Australia or Egypt. Riveting match, but something tells me that the better matches are the ones fought against the weaker teams than the bigger teams like Portugal and Spain. Anyway, thanks all for watching. Thanks all of you to dropping by. Tomorrow it's gonna be another stream. Something around ish for maybe 5 p.m. CST. I'll check how it's gonna be when it comes to time. I'm gonna post tomorrow. I'm gonna post the waiting room like hour, maybe 2 hours before the stream. So if you want to go check it out, we're gonna be finishing the hood that I started last week. Also, finishing is a very, very exaggerated word. We're just gonna progress the build. I would probably take 1 more week until I'm finished with her. Anyway, thanks again for dropping by. If you do, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to be notified. And as always, I hope you have a beautiful day, night, evening, or an afternoon, wherever you are. This is Aventer. Bye bye, see you next stream, see you tomorrow. I should get myself an ending scream. Maybe something like... because I still haven't gotten one. So maybe something like, I don't know. I like Japan, so maybe like onsen, like Kankora onsen. Yes, I know I'm still live because I don't know how to end things. Okay, anyway, bye bye.